Good to have you with us. We have a development to bring you from this rescue operation that we've been closely following in Pakistan, in northern Pakistan, where we've seen a cable car that has been hanging over a ravine. It's been incredibly precarious, and a rescue operation has been underway to try to get the 8 people who are on board off. We can just tell you now, and it's good news, that actually the authorities there have managed to rescue 2 of the children who are on board. We're just starting to get details. We just were notified that it was 1 person, and in the last few minutes or so we've heard another child has been rescued. It's almost dark in this part of Pakistan. It's been a very dangerous and difficult operation to try and rescue those that are trapped inside the cable car. Let's bring in Courtney Bembridge, who is with me. She's been following all the developments. Courtney, you're on a WhatsApp group with BBC Urdu, our teams that are on the ground, everyone who is looking into this, and we've got a really good development. Tell us what we've been hearing.
Absolutely. Let's just hear from BBC Urdu. They have said that a police officer at the scene has confirmed that the rescue of 2 children was conducted by helicopter. They landed at a helipad nearby. He says doctors are present there and carrying out medical checks, and that both children are stable. So a very good development in this situation.
What a great outcome. There'll be a lot of relief around that. What else is happening in terms of darkness falling and that operation that is continuing to get the others out?
Of course. So sunset is due around now. It's very difficult conditions in terms of the wind, also losing light. They were also looking at whether they should lay cables to try to reach to this cable car rather than try and go from the air. As you can see there in these pictures, this was an army commando lowered down to the cable car, and we're understood that they handed over supplies first before those 2 children were brought out, and it's believed they were brought out one by one via that helicopter. But as I said, we are still getting all of these developments coming in. There are still 6 other people on board, including 2 adults and 4 other children. So, and one of those we'd heard earlier had a heart condition, so there was a race against time to try to get him out. It's not clear at this stage whether he is one of the first that was rescued. He, we understand, is 16 years old, and the 2 that have been rescued are in a stable condition. So at this point, that's all we know, that there are 2 of the children being winched to safety, landed in a nearby helipad, and that those efforts will continue as it starts to get dark and with some urgency.
BBC Urdu have been speaking to a police officer, Muhammad Amjad, who has confirmed the rescue of the 2 children. And as you've said, doctors present at the helipad, both of the kids are stable. So this is really good news. What about the conditions there at the moment? Because, Courtney, you were telling me earlier it's quite windy, and that is really hindering efforts to try and get the others out.
Yeah, so very windy conditions, and of course the helicopter blades generate their own wind, so that was another complication. This cable car was hanging, as you can see, on one side there by one of the cables. 1 or 2 of them on the other side had broken, so it was a very difficult situation to try to reach that without creating any further pressure on that remaining cable. This is of course also a very mountainous area. You can see that in that vision there, and that's the very reason why these cable cars are used, and they're so common, because you can see another example of the type of cable car.
This is not the same as the one.
No, this is not.
As far as we know.
No, as far as we know, this is not the same one, but it gives you an idea of the type of cable car used in this area, and it saves people hours on their journey. So these children were using their cable car to get to school. It's a 4-minute journey on the cable car, or 2 hours on foot, and you can see that the 2 hours would be quite an arduous walk. It's up and down mountains. So these cable cars are quite common in this area. The interesting thing now will be a question about who manages their safety, because as we're told, this was set up by a private resident who is an engineer, and he decided to make it easier for people to get from one village to the other. The question will be about what kind of safety precautions are in place, what kind of oversight authorities have in terms of the safety, and we were told that they are checked every year to make sure that they are compliant, but all of this will be looked at in the wake of this. But right now the focus is on getting those remaining children and 2 adults off that cable car, which is still dangling above a ravine, hundreds of metres above that ravine, and nightfall is approaching.
And who is involved in the rescue? At this stage, is it just the military, do we think?
So we've been told that the military, but also that hundreds, if not thousands of people have been brought into the area. Now this, as I said, quite a unique area. The terrain is quite unique, and there are people with experience operating rescue operations in this area. So they have been brought in, but also in terms of the cable plan that I laid out earlier, that was an alternate plan they were looking at in case the helicopter option wasn't going to be successful. They were looking at laying cable along to try to reach that cable car, and hundreds of people were brought in to help in that effort. And we've seen lots of the pictures of crowds gathering there. There are locals, the parents of the children have been gathering there, urging authorities to save their children. We've also heard from people who were on board the cable car some hours ago now, before the communication was lost, saying, please help us. So certainly everyone has flocked to this area. The military, of course, leading it with the helicopter there, but there will also be efforts happening alongside that, because, as I say, if the helicopter with the losing light isn't able to rescue the remaining children, that other option may come into play.
And as far as we know, this is going to continue even though darkness is falling.
Yes, the authorities have said at this point that there's no, they're not stopping anytime soon, especially I think with the rescue of these first two children. I think they'll be hoping that the conditions as they are at the moment stay the same, and that they are able to rescue the remaining children in much the same way via helicopter.
Courtney, it's been invaluable to have you just going through all of the local media, talking to our BBC Urdu team on the ground and finding out exactly what is going on and taking us through the pictures as well. Just to confirm for you, it is good news that we are hearing from Pakistan that 2 children have been rescued from a group of 6 children and 2 adults. They were trapped in this cable car that you're seeing here. As you can tell, it is dangling in a very precarious position over a ravine in northern Pakistan. It's very windy there as well. That has made it very, very difficult to try and get people and the helicopters and the military commandos to the cable car. But we are hearing from doctors who are present at the helipad that they've landed, they're carrying out medical checks on those 2 children, and they are both well. The rescue effort continues, and we will also continue to keep you up to date with all the developments. Stay with us.